So tonight I'm talking about this crazy unusual device. This is the ROG Flow Z13. This is the special edition Acronym version, and this thing is one of a kind. For this particular laptop, I have to start off with the design. It is a very, very stark looking device. I could see some people loving it and some people hating it. In fact, when I posted that I ordered one of these, I got a comment saying that this must be an April Fool joke. There's no way that Asus would make something this ugly. And I must say that a lot of the press materials and a lot of the photos and a lot of the videos I've seen out there of this device, I don't really feel like they're doing it justice. But also at the same time, this is a particularly difficult product to showcase. So as you've seen clips in here, I'm gonna try to do this product justice, because in my opinion, this is probably one of the nicest looking, just in terms of originality alone. It blends the line between being like industrial looking, cyberpunk looking, professional looking, and also gamer looking too. And I think this laptop is starting to cover what a lot more modern gamers are going for in terms of aesthetics. I think we're getting away from the black and crazy RGB that we've been seeing a lot in traditional gaming peripherals and laptops, and I think Acronym is heading in the right direction. So let's get into some of the details of the design. So there's these four corners, and they do serve as protection. It does look like they should be removable, but it doesn't. It makes it kind of look like it's in a case, but it's not. But they do serve some important functions. So one, protection. The edges are rubberized, so sometimes like when I'm using this, I just like toss it down, and I'm not really worried about it. I feel like it's just very well protected. I'm not gonna go say that it's gonna survive a drop, and that's absolutely not something I'm going to be testing. And also because of these bottom humps, when you attach the keyboard case, which has some really nice, strong, satisfying magnets, which is nice, it actually allows you to fold it backwards and be able to use it as a tablet just sitting on your desk. When I had last year's Z13, I did find that when you fold the keyboard backwards, it was a little bit cumbersome to use, but this sits nice and flush on the desk. It's not wobbling. It's perfect. So I kind of felt before I had to take off the keyboard cover and rest it down on the desk and just kind of store this away somewhere when I'm not using it. I think the folks at Acronym solve that with these little bumps here. And another thing that the folks at Acronym added were these black little rubberized plastic. When I had last year's Flow Z13, when I rested this on the table, I was always worried about the metal scratching, and last year's Z13 also had like a little glass element that was kind of see-through. So I was always worried to rest this down on the table. So I always had to find the keyboard, close it, and then rest it down this way. That's not an issue with this anymore. And another cool thing that the folks at Acronym added, the stand is a bit shaved off, so it's a bit angular instead of being rectangular, so you can actually mount it in a portrait orientation, which could be useful. That's a nice little touch as well too. I don't know if this is diamond cut, but to achieve this type of build and this type of indentation is definitely, this isn't like some cheap cash in. There's a lot of thought put into this. The depth and the 3D effects and they're very, very precise. And you might be thinking that these edges might be sharp where these indentations are, but they're not. It's actually really, really smooth, and I don't feel like I'm gonna cut myself or it's uncomfortable to hold. The only thing that's a bit uncomfortable is the stand. When you're using it on your lap, it starts to dig into your leg a little bit, and that's a little bit uncomfortable. But anyway, coming back to the design, there's just so much little Easter eggs sprinkled in all over the place too. This is one of the most fantastic looking laptops I've ever used, and I would hate to have to get rid of this thing. Alright, so now let's flip it around and let's talk about the screen. The screen is made out of Gorilla Glass, and it feels really solid. It kind of like when you're using the touch screen, it feels like you're using your phone or like an iPad in terms of the actual quality of the glass, but the touch response just isn't as fluid as something like an iPad or your phone. It's not bad, and Windows has gotten much, much, much better at that. The entire user interface has been tweaked with the latest version of Windows 11, and you could fully interact with this tablet as a touchscreen, and you don't have to go into some silly touchscreen mode or tablet mode like Windows 10 had before. Windows has gotten a lot better with their touch input, and it's very, very usable. I can find myself doing just about everything on this tablet without needing a keyboard. But like I said, I'm not saying you're going to get as smooth of an experience as you would with an Android tablet or an iPad. So now let's actually talk about the display. Of course, I ran all my measurements, and I was getting about 96.5% DCI-P3 coverage, which is amazing, 99% of sRGB, and 85% of Adobe RGB. So this is all in range with typical gaming laptops. The response time seemed fast, like not OLED fast, but it's fast. It's fast enough to cover this 165Hz display, and I was playing competitive Overwatch in it, and I had no problems. Brightness was about 470 nits, so not the advertised 500 nits, but whatever. 450 nits, 460 nits, that's more than adequate, and that's more than bright enough. The black levels, unfortunately, I mean, and you know what, I'm probably only saying this because I'm coming from the mini LEDs in my GT77, and I covered OLED laptops in the past, and when I had the Scar 16 and the Razer Blade 16, seeing those mini LED displays, it's a bit stark going back to a traditional IPS like this. The contrast ratio is over 1,000 to 1, so it's fine. It's more than acceptable. But the black levels at 0.4 don't end up showing up as black as they should be, given how bright this display is, and given that there's no type of full array local backlight system on this display. I think it's fine for what it is, but overall the screen is really, really nice to look at. It's just I'm playing Resident Evil 4, the remake, and in some of those darker areas, it does look a little bit gray. And this is compared, and like I said, it's only because I'm playing on my monitor, which is an OLED or a mini LED on my GT77. I just want to talk about the heat dissipation really quickly. It's really, really good on this laptop. It never really overheats. It never gets to thermal territory, at least in real world applications, and that's because of the particular design. And I'll be showing up some video on some of the numbers I've been getting in terms of CPU temperatures. But I mean, this thing's not pushing the highest wattage. In most games, I'm getting like 45 watts on the GPU. So at the end of the day, you're not getting top tier performance, even though this does have a 4070 in it. And by the way, if you want a 4070 in the Flow Z13, the only way to get it is through this Acronym special edition. This isn't meant to be a 7-8 pound beast. This is meant to take with you everywhere you go. So like I know some of you in the comments are gonna be like, yo, for $2,500 US, which is what this costs, you could get that Strix G18 for also the same price, and it'll destroy this performance wise. But I find myself using this a lot more than some of my larger laptops because it's smaller, and because of the particular tablet style form factor, I'm using it way more. And the gaming performance is fine. I'm able to play everything I want at a reasonable frame rate. So when I ran Cyberpunk QHD with like maximum settings, I was getting between 30 to 40 FPS. And since this display supports G-Sync, it ran smoothly. And for a game like that, it's more than acceptable. With Overwatch, I got to lower the settings all the way down to low and bring down the resolution scaler a little bit, and then I'm able to get the full 165 FPS on this laptop, and that ran buttery smooth. But pretty much any Xbox Series X game or PS5 game that's running like 30 to 60 FPS on that system, this is able to do it at QHD. One thing I will say though is if you are going to connect this to an external monitor, it probably should not be 4K because of the VRAM only being 8 gigabytes. It's not enough to really play most AAA games, I should say. Even when I had the Legion 7 Pro with the 4070, that couldn't really run much games at 4K. The VRAM is actually a limitation there, not necessarily this being a smaller form factor. And also, you have the opportunity to upgrade to the XG Mobile if you want more horsepower. But at the end of the day, I don't think anybody is just using a gaming laptop only for gaming. You're going to use it for practical purposes. And how does it handle that? So first, I want to talk about using this particular design on my lap as a regular laptop. I've always struggled to use like an iPad with that magic keyboard. It just wasn't weighed right. It'll always either want to fall backwards or forward. Even with the traditional Microsoft Surface 2, I never really felt comfortable using those. But I will say, it's really balanced well. When it's on your lap, it's not tipping forward or backwards. It just sits there in a way a laptop would. The only thing is, if you want to adjust the tilt, like you're not able to just tilt it forward or backward like a traditional laptop. You kind of have to get the stand to work right, and kind of play around with it a little bit. Some of the benefits of having this is also, being a tablet. You could flip it around and you have a tablet. You could detach the keyboard and you have a standalone device, and then whenever you want, it just snaps right back in. Super, super satisfying. And also, because of this particular design, I can rest this on my bed at night and play video games. Unlike traditional laptops, where a lot of the intakes is at the bottom, if this is resting on your bed, you're not going to choke the system. You're able to get the full airflow out of it that way. So this creates a lot of opportunities to use as a gaming laptop in instances where you typically might not be able to. So let's talk about this keyboard cover. It is fine. It's adequate. It's more than adequate. The keys have a good amount of travel, probably the most I've experienced in a particular device like this. It's actually really, really comfortable to type on. One thing I do have a big problem with, though, is the lettering, the typeface that they use. So they do have traditional letters, but they're not all visible, and a lot of them are only visible when you have the keyboard backlighting on. So sometimes when I'm looking down to type, these random characters just really throw me off, and it's been about 2 months and I'm still not completely used to it. I get this is a very design-forward brand, Acronym, but when it comes to usability, that's something I don't want them to mess with. So now let's not talk about the trackpad. It's glass, and usually a lot of tablets with a detachable keyboard, the trackpad is always laggy. I am not having that issue here. It feels just as good as any other laptop. I don't find myself reaching for a mouse the way I typically would with some of these tablet-style, Surface-style laptops. It is a bit small, but you know what? This is a smaller device. It kind of is what it is. They're working with the space limitations they have, so I can't really knock them for that. So overall, I'm getting ready to call it here because I think you already know if you're the type of person who wants a laptop like this. It's not for everyone. It's not always practical. If you find yourself just preferring a clamshell design, this isn't really going to change your mind. But overall, this is one of the better thought out and better designed versions of these tablet Surface type laptops with a detachable keyboard and a built-in stand, etc. This is not a laptop replacement. I still feel like for many people, something like a G14 would actually be cheaper and would serve your needs better than this. But if you enjoy having a tablet, if you enjoy having a touchscreen, if you like having a built-in kickstand and taking this around with you everywhere, I haven't even talked about the pen input yet because it supports that. The Asus Pen uses N-Trig technology, so it's going to work very, very similar to how a Surface Pen would work. So if you're able to, and this is the right laptop for you, I'd really encourage you to go for this. But also, that's if you could find it too. So if you are looking for this laptop, good luck out there. Keep checking stock, and I hope you're able to find one. All right, guys, thanks a lot. Bye.